in the squadron. They called him Bullets, but we call him Greg Kelly. Greg Kelly is on the air
on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
250 years old, in 2 weeks? About 2 weeks or so, right? Does it feel like it? Not really. I know. I see America 250 here, there. But I remember the bicentennial. I was a little kid, and everybody had the spirit. Everybody was into it. It was on TV all the time. Products, car dealerships, soda, grocery stores. Everything was about bicentennial and colonial stuff. And it was, part of it could be bicentennial was a very intriguing word. You know, I was on a soccer team. I think they called us the Bicentennials, actually. The Bicentennials. It just is a neat word. Now, it's the semi-sesquicentennial or something like that. Nobody knows what the word is, and nobody can really say it. Nobody can remember it, and it's just not a nice word. So we got that going against us. America 250. I think 250 is a pretty big anniversary, isn't it? 250, 250 years? Is it just because it's the 50? Or do we only make a big deal at 100, 200, 300, 250? No, that can't be it. Is it because we have woke and we have half the country that hates this country? Now, that could be it. And we didn't have that. We didn't have that in 1976. And Democrats were not crazy, although they elected somebody who was pretty crazy, didn't we? Right? Jimmy Carter. Jimmy Carter became president in 1976. That is still a mystery to me. How the hell that man became president? A weakling. A total weakling. I don't care if he went to the Naval Academy. I don't care if he knew how to drive a submarine. That guy, I remember listening to a speech of his, and I remember thinking, gosh, I feel like he's mad at me. I feel like I've disappointed him somehow. You know, just a holier than thou, not a leader. You can't have... When did leaders of the country start bad-mouthing the country? Right? So it's just not a big thing. And there are a couple of things we can do. You know, you can read Eric Metaxas's book on this whole thing. You can read the Constitution. Actually, that's a great idea, to read the Constitution. Because I read the Constitution for kicks over the weekend, and I found something. Well, I didn't read the whole thing. I was looking for one thing. I was looking for this thing that I knew had to be in there. Under Article 2, which is presidential power, what the president can and cannot do and is supposed to do. And it says explicitly right in there that he is to take care that the laws are enforced. Okay? He is to take care that the laws are enforced. He is a law enforcement officer, the chief law enforcement officer. And if he wants to pick up the phone and call James Comey or call Preet Bharara or call anybody he wants, he can. It's so, they made that seem like a rogue, illegal action when he picked up the phone to, guess what, run the government. You know, the DOJ is part of the executive branch. These are his own employees, and they've successfully to this day, and even worse, they've demonized the word. I've talked about this before, but it's happening, and it shows no sign of abating. I'm going to have to get louder and more creative. Politics. Anything political is bad. Oh, that's just politics. So we got to make sure that there's no politics involved in this decision. Let's make it apolitical. Apolitical? What's wrong with political? What is wrong with political? What would be the problem with political? There is no problem with political. Political is like, it's the music. It's the language of democracy. Political is what it comes from is polis. You know, we are a metropolitan area, right? We had back in Greece, they had these things called city-states, and they called them polises, and then we called them metropolis, like Superman, metropolis, metro, polis, the people. Politics is relating to us, the people, right? And what we want, not what some bureaucrat who wasn't elected by anybody wants. You know, by the way, some of these bureaucrats were appointed by the president that we voted for. So Preet Bharara and James Comey and the rest of these guys, they either don't know how the Constitution works, or they're ignoring it. They forgot. I don't know what their problem is. But President Trump is the pure actor in all of this. He is the good guy, and these are the bad guys. Now, are we ever going to get accountability? It's very, very difficult because, if we only had people working at the DOJ who agreed with us, there'd be probably 24 people there, tops. We've got 2,000 lawyers working there. We need some of those people just for the basic functions of government. Then again, maybe we don't. Maybe we should fire everybody. But if Obama gets away with it, with all the power we have and what they put him through, President Trump, and we have power, right? And power is okay. They keep saying the president's the most powerful person in the world. How could he ask Zelensky to investigate Joe Biden? Joe Biden advertises that he's a corrupt person, and somehow President Trump is in trouble for pointing that out. He couldn't get our FBI to look into Zelensky. So why not get Hunter Biden and Joe Biden? Why not ask Zelensky to do it? It's a legitimate thing to do. So, well, President Trump benefited politically. I mean, that's fine, actually. That's okay. We like politics. Politics is of or related to us, the people. Now, J.D. Vance, of course, he's got his hands full with the Iran stuff and the nuclear, but he also has his eye on all of this, and these comments got kind of overlooked, where he talks about, hey, are we going to start arresting people for the crimes that we know were committed? Carlos, if you don't mind, hit it, please.
I absolutely want to see indictments, Maria. Look, of course, you've got to have the law follow the facts here. You don't just indict people to indict people. You indict people because they broke the law. But if you look at what Tulsi and Kash Patel have revealed in the last couple of weeks, I don't know how anybody can look at that and say that there wasn't aggressive violations of the law. What they basically did is they defrauded the American people in order to take Hillary Clinton's presidential campaign talking points and turn them into intelligence by defrauding the American people, defrauding the intelligence agencies, lying about what the intel said. They would take something that supported a Hillary Clinton campaign talking point, and they would overemphasize it and exaggerate it. They took anything that actually contradicted that narrative and they buried it deep. And through that, they actually laundered Hillary Clinton's presidential campaign talking points through the American intelligence services. That's a violation of the people's trust. That's a violation of what our intelligence services should be doing. And I absolutely think they broke the law. And you're going to see a lot of people get indicted for that. Here's the thing that should really bother the American people. What do you want our intelligence community to be doing? I want them to be catching bad guys. I want them to be making sure that terrorists aren't going to kill innocent American civilians. I don't want them laundering Hillary Clinton's campaign talking points into the American media and giving them this air of legitimacy. It is sick. And it's disgusting. It hurt the intelligence community, it hurt the American people, and it hurt the first Trump administration. We've got to have consequences for it, or we're just going to see the same play repeated again and after again.
Amen, J.D. Vance. Amen. Now, how does that actually happen? It's tough because all of the institutions still, he's the president. President Trump is, he's somewhat vulnerable. He's surrounded by the intelligence community, surrounded. He's surrounded by men with guns. And we know that some of these men with guns utterly failed him in 2024, 2 assassination attempts. What happened at the Washington Hilton, what was that, 6 weeks ago or so, right? I mean, just because he's the president doesn't mean he's impregnable. They could still get him. And part of me, he has to watch for that. It would be devastating for the country if he were killed. Devastating for everybody. It would be the most horrendous thing. But apart from the tragedy, what it would mean for the country if that happened, he has to weigh that. He has to weigh that. Why can't we? How did they get 4 indictments against President Trump over 0? Absolute 0. And we can't get essentially anything going on our side. It's not that we're weak or that we lack aggression or anything like that. We have to be aggressive, and we are. But the system is so rigged. The system, especially in Washington, anytime, if it's of or related to Trump, they have so successfully made it feel a little bit rogue, right? It's a little bit rogue to Trump. It's a little bit dangerous somehow. Even MAGA's a little bit on the outside. Why are we on the outside? How did they do that? They did it. They make us feel like a bunch of, and they're not, these people have nothing on us. Nothing. All they are basically shameless, without a conscience. Remember, they said that Joe Biden was this caring, nice man at the top of his game, and the videos that were coming out showing him to be anything but that were cheap fakes. Cheap fakes. Artificial intelligence. It wasn't real. Disinformation from Republicans. This is a good one. This is a good one because President Trump is still paying a price for it. There's still people who believe that he supports white supremacists, racists, because of that the Charlottesville hoax. The Charlottesville hoax. Perpetrated by millionaires and billionaires and obnoxious people on the left. I even know people on the right who don't even know this, who haven't heard the whole context. So you know what, with the Charlottesville thing and that woman got run over? Hey, why don't we know about what happened to that guy? What happened to that prosecution? Where the hell is that gone? Because the guy who ran her over is still alive. Listen to this. Jake Tapper lying like crazy, and it's a lie by omission. Right? You can do that. A sin by omission. I remember learning about those. Cut 17, please. Cut 17.
You have it? Okay, I'm being told we have it. Thank you. Run it, please.
Excuse me, to protest. Excuse me, they didn't put themselves down as you, and you had some very bad people in that group. But you also had people that were very fine people on both sides.
That was President Trump saying that very fine people were marching alongside neo-Nazis and skinheads and white supremacists.
I've condemned neo-Nazis. I've condemned many different groups, but not all of those people were neo-Nazis, believe me. Not all of those people were white supremacists. And you had people, and I'm not talking about the neo-Nazis and the white nationalists, because they should be condemned totally. But you had many people in that group other than neo-Nazis and white nationalists, okay?
This is a president who said there were, quote, very fine people on both sides in a Charlottesville neo-Nazi Klan march in Charlottesville, and his infamous reference to very fine people. There were, quote, very fine people on both sides of that Charlottesville, Virginia march. And candidate Trump, I tried to get him 3 times to condemn David Duke. He wouldn't do it.
Well, you've got David Duke just joined, a bigot, a racist, a problem. I mean, this is not exactly the people you want in your party.
A lot of people think that he has a soft spot in his heart for, or at least won't condemn, white supremacists.
As I said on Saturday, we condemn in the strongest possible terms this egregious display of hatred, bigotry, and violence. It has no place in America. Racism is evil, and those who cause violence in its name are criminals and thugs, including the KKK, neo-Nazis, white supremacists, and other hate groups that are repugnant to everything we hold dear as Americans. We are a nation founded on the truth that all of us are created equal.
And there's this big effort by Trump supporters to pretend that the president didn't say what he said, to call this all a hoax.
And you had people, and I'm not talking about the neo-Nazis and the white nationalists, because they should be condemned totally. But you had many people in that group other than neo-Nazis and white nationalists, okay?
I guess one of our problems is we tell the truth. We tell the truth and they lie. And that's not a problem. And yeah, I know it when you tell the truth and you don't lie, it may cause you short-term problems. But in the long term, we're going to win. We do win. And it's just when you hear that, you never, ever, ever want to be like them. The truth will always come out, always. And we're privileged to share it. We'll be right back.
Greg Kelly
on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Who said that phrase? You've heard it. I remember in high school, a guy told me, his name was Dan Sheehan. Very talented guy. We were in English class together. He was also a musician. And he said his dad told him, when you tell the truth, you never have to remember what you say. When you tell the truth, you never have to remember what you say, right? Because you can't remember the lies. And you're all over the place when you're lying. It's very interesting. Who said that originally? I'm gonna find out. But this goes right to the Bidens. Now, you know my friend Bill Stevenson, Jill Biden's ex-husband, is in jail right now accused of murder. He is 78 years old, and they set bail at $2 million. Now, that is a wildly crazy number. You know, Carmelo Anthony, I mean, right now, we don't know how this woman died. I don't think Bill killed her, but I know this. The autopsy said they couldn't figure out the cause of death. There are no obvious marks on her body or anything like that. I met Linda Stevenson. She actually struck me. I mean, I remember she struck me as an unhealthy person physically. You know, she's very nice, and Bill's great. So there he is in jail. I think they want him to die in jail. And I'm hearing that his roommate, his cellmate, is a convicted killer. Now, he hasn't been convicted of a crime. You're not supposed to do that. And the other thing that really worries me about Bill, well, everything worries me, to be honest, everything about the case. I do believe they want him dead. I do believe they want somebody to kill him, or they want him to kill himself. And this might be the punishment. You know, this thing, maybe they don't think it'll ever come to trial, right? That somehow, because Bill came out hard against the Bidens. In 2022 and 2023, he told me, and he actually said the story earlier, but he said it a bit more vividly, that Joe had an affair with Jill while they were married, while Bill was married to Jill. Now, and he also said that he made out pretty well in the divorce. Bill did, better than he was expecting, and better than, quite frankly, he was ready, because he was ready to give it all away. He was going to get wiped out. But the judge took mercy and saw that something odd was happening, and wound up letting Bill keep his house and keep his Stone Balloon Bar. Jill Biden wrote in her book that came out a month ago, she's still upset about that divorce. When I divorced my first husband, I was destitute financially because I only got a quarter of the money I thought I had coming to me. My husband owned a very popular college bar, which he kept. I mean, 50 years later, she's still bitter about that. So the fascinating thing to me now, she keeps getting it wrong how and when she met Joe Biden. And she keeps giving him a different age, how old Joe Biden was when they met. In March of 1975, she says he was 31. Well, actually, he was 32. And then in another book, she said they started seeing each other when they were 30. That's significant.
Greg Kelly, entertaining and informative
on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
How about this one? Tish James. Anybody know her? The Attorney General of New York State. I don't think she's a real lawyer. I know she's a real dummy. She's the one who brought that ludicrous case trying to say that, Mar-a-Lago is worth 20 cents, right? And that nutjob Bozo the Clown judge, they got to go along with it. She, curiously, is supporting Jay Clayton, the U.S. attorney, former U.S. attorney for the Southern District under President Trump. Jay Clayton has been nominated, as you may know, for the Director of National Intelligence. And I don't understand why she would be supporting him. And part of me does. Look, he's a lawyer. I guess she's kind of a lawyer. The office probably cooperated with each other, right? The offices cooperate. I do find it a little bit bizarre, though, that she would come out for him publicly. It's a bit of a bombshell. Jay Clayton, I think, is a good guy, but some people are raising questions. Hey, if you got support like this, why do you have it? And what does it say about you? Now, I met Jay Clayton once. I just met him once. What the hell do I know? But President Trump, I believe, has confidence in him. I'd like to bring in one of our favorites, Joel Gilbert, the amazing investigative journalist and filmmaker and author. Letitia James endorses Trump's DNI nominee, Jay Clayton, and MAGA is demanding answers. Joel, welcome back. Why would Tish James endorse a guy like Jay Clayton?
I think it's two things. Number one, like most Democrats, they have this bizarre fear of Bill Pulte. They think that he's a Trump supporter and will do anything to support Trump. So they've got a genuine fear of Polte. Secondly, I think Jay Clayton is a kind of New York insider. He's been working in the New York system for many years. Letitia's probably ran into him, is familiar with him, so she's given her stamp of endorsement, and I made the case that that's a problem. We need to ask a lot of questions why Letitia James is comfortable with this guy.
Okay. And that is kind of a... Now, I do hear he's got some support from Democrats in Congress and the Senate. There are I think Mark Warner, perhaps. There are lawyers. These lawyers do deals with each other over the years. I mean, does this possibly, for a split second, just harken back to a moment where, there was a vague sense of bipartisanship? And if you maybe disagreed with somebody on the issues, at least if, you knew they were qualified, you'd vote for them. Republicans and Democrats did that not too long ago. And now that's not the case anymore. Is it a nod back in that direction?
No, I don't think so. I think it's too partisan now. I think there were serious questions about Todd Blanche that are still hanging around because he was a Democrat New York City attorney for many years. And you've got this guy who's entrenched in the business world in New York for many, many years. So he's kind of an institution guy. He's been involved in these corporate mergers and all these SEC rules and global offerings and equity. So there's a real question, is this guy just going to protect the institutions that he came from? Or is it going to be someone like Tulsi Gabbard who came out and went after the Trump agenda? She reduced the size of the bureaucracy. She declassified records and JFK stuff. She revealed what happened with the biolabs in Ukraine with Fauci. I mean, here's someone that went after the institutions, whereas Jay Clayton clearly is a product of the institutions. And I think that's what Letitia James liked about him, is that, hey, he's one of us.
It's interesting. Very interesting. Listen, you and I and a lot of our viewers have been very much concerned about Bill Stevenson, the ex-husband of Jill Biden. And it's just a maddening situation, charged with murder. No documents are available. I still can't get over something I found out actually last night. Jill Biden has written 2 books. I knew that, but I went back, and there are massive discrepancies in how she met Joe Biden in each book. In each book, she gives Joe Biden a different age for when they met. One says 32, the other says 31, and then elsewhere in the book, I think it says 30. Now, Joe was definitely married. I'm sorry, she was definitely married to Bill Stevenson when Joe was 31. And it just harkens back to, if you tell the truth, you never have to remember what you say. But there are lots of different versions, because this is Bill Stevenson is right across the board about the Bidens.
Yeah, look, we've got a lot of concerns from your viewers because you had him on your show. He was such an honest guy and put forth a story that very much contradicted the very origin story of the Biden relationship. And there's concern that there might be some animosity toward him by the Bidens, by the corporation, which is the state of Delaware today. And I've been doing a little bit of research, and we just can't get any information from the state of Delaware about the case. We just found out there are actually 2 autopsies of his wife. They did an autopsy, and they found there's nothing wrong here. There's no foul play. They can't figure out exactly why she died, but there's no case for murder or anything, and they ordered a second autopsy, and somehow based on that, it looks like he was charged with murder. So we want to know who ordered a second autopsy, who performed it, and what did they find? So right now we have no information, and the concern is he getting railroaded because of the Biden story?
And how odd in your experience is it that a 78-year-old man, Bill Stevenson, who's in jail right now, not convicted of a crime, $2 million bail, $2 million. Now, Carmelo Anthony put a knife in a man's chest, and we all knew it. And he went home on house arrest, and I think the bail was $500,000, $400,000. And we got a serial rapist you may have seen in the newspaper, alleged serial rapist, a lawyer from New Jersey who was living up in Boston. He's out on bail, $500,000. That is a ludicrously high number in a matter like this, isn't it?
Yeah, it's astounding because I found out his bail started at $500,000, and somehow the prosecution came in and said, "Oh, we want to bring it up to $2 million," and the judge agreed for a guy who's 78 years old and isn't going anywhere. They probably should have just sent him home on a ankle bracelet, for example, would have been the fair thing to do, because his trial is not until January of 2027. So he's got to rot in jail for another, 6 months. It seems very unfair. There's a lot of pieces of this puzzle that are making people uncomfortable. It's starting to feel like a January 6th case because everything is going against the defendant, and we have no evidence of any crime whatsoever.
All right, and you have been seeking documents, and the documents are they are not forthcoming, and it looks to me like they're trying to get out of it any way they can. The littlest of technicalities, or just being generally non-cooperative. I mean, there's a 911 call. I know when celebrities get in trouble, I hear the 911 call on TMZ. 3 hours later. This is now 6 months later. No 911 call. It's kind of important.
Well, I put in a FOIA request, 2 FOIA requests, one for records and one for communications. I got denied because I'm not a Delaware resident. I got a buddy of mine in Delaware to put the same FOIAs in. He got rejected saying, it's under investigation, which kind of doesn't make sense because he's already been charged. So you're right. There's no reason we can't have the body cams, the 911 call, and see what actually happened. At least something. Get the autopsy reports is what I really want to see. So we're just starting to see that everywhere you look, it seems like the system is against this guy, and we want to make sure he gets a fair trial.
Yeah, we sure do. Hey, do me a favor. Can you update us on Roseanne Barr, the great comedian who they tried to cancel, and I'm glad that she kind of came roaring back, in part thanks to you, an amazing film you did about Roseanne Barr, unfairly canceled, but I see her making noise in a good way. She seems to be having a good time. How is Roseanne Barr doing?
Well, she's doing great. Her film is out. You can see the trailer, RoseanneIsAmerica.com, and that'll link you up where you can watch the movie. It's just everywhere. And she's doing her podcast. She loves doing it. She does it about once or twice a week. She interviews all kind of people. And as you said, she was...
Uh-oh. Is that me or is that you? Carlos, do you hear me? Oh, shoot. Let's get him back on the phone if we can. But I got to meet Roseanne Barr. And, to be honest, when she was on the Roseanne Barr show, I wasn't the biggest fan. I'm sorry, is he back?
I'm back.
Oh, hey, we lost you there for a second. I was just talking about how I actually became a fan of Roseanne and really looking at her work after she got canceled, not before. I didn't like the TV show. I didn't like that national anthem thing, although I'm told that was kind of they sabotaged her. But tell us more. We can see the movie through you.
Yeah, you go to RoseanneIsAmerica.com. She was the first big victim of cancel culture, and the reason she was 2018 is because she was a Trump supporter both in real life and on TV. And at the time, they were trying to say that all Trump supporters are racist. That was the thing the media was pushing back in 2018. And she put out a very funny tweet about the Iran deal and Valerie Jarrett, and they said, did you know Valerie was 10% black? And she said, no, I thought she was from Iran because she was born in Iran. And they said, it was racist. And they canceled her show within like 20 minutes, and they kicked her out of Hollywood. So she really got to be the first victim of this cancel culture. And I think my movie tells the whole story about how she persevered and came back. And now she's this kind of big podcast celebrity interviewing so many people with so many interesting stories of their own. And we have this great movie out, Roseanne Barr is America.
Hey, what about, I'm on her side here, and I have a theory, but I thought, didn't she say something about Planet of the Apes? Isn't that what got her in trouble?
Yeah, here was the story. She put out a tweet. She said, if the Planet of the Apes movie, if the Muslim Brotherhood and the Planet of the Apes movie had a baby, it would be Valerie Jarrett. She was trying to make fun of the fact that in the Planet of the Apes movie, it's about taking over the world. And the Muslim Brotherhood wants to take over the world. So it was kind of a funny tweet. You'd have to kind of understand politics to get the joke. She thought Valerie Jarrett was from Iran, which everybody thought because she's from Iran. She was born there. And even Valerie Jarrett had her book out a couple of years ago, and she went around saying, most people don't know I'm black. I got beat up in school by black kids because they thought I was white. So based on that misunderstanding, they said, well, let's just cancel Roseanne. And it was only because she was a Trump supporter, nothing else.
That's interesting. I thought it was a big misunderstanding because, I love the Planet of the Apes. In fact, it's my favorite movie. And I thought she was getting at, she actually looks like one of the humans in Planet of the Apes. Like everybody says, oh, it's racist. They're comparing her to an ape. No. She actually does look like some of the humans. Not the astronauts, not Taylor, not those guys, but the humans, Nova and Nova's friends. But anyway, we'll give her our best, and we'll go to your website, Highway 61ENT, highway61ent.com, ENT for entertainment, and all over social media. Before we go, do me a favor, JD Vance on accountability. Carlos, JD Vance with Maria Bartiromo on accountability, and will we ever get it for Obama's high crimes and misdemeanors and a lot of other people? Go ahead.
You've got to have the law follow the facts here. You don't just indict people to indict people. You indict people because they broke the law. But if you look at what Tulsi and Kash Patel have revealed in the last couple of weeks, I don't know how anybody can look at that and say that there wasn't aggressive violations of the law. What they basically did is they defrauded the American people in order to take Hillary Clinton's presidential campaign talking points and turn them into intelligence by defrauding the American people, defrauding the intelligence agencies, lying about what the intel said. They would take something that supported a Hillary Clinton campaign talking point, and they would overemphasize it and exaggerate it. They took anything that actually contradicted that narrative and they buried it deep. And through that, they actually laundered Hillary Clinton's presidential campaign talking points through the American intelligence services. That's a violation of the people's trust. That's a violation of what our intelligence services should be doing, and I absolutely think they broke the law, and you're going to see a lot of people get indicted for that. Here's the thing that should really bother the American people. What do you want our intelligence community to be doing? I want them to be catching bad guys. I want them to be making sure that terrorists aren't going to kill innocent American civilians. I don't want them laundering Hillary Clinton's campaign talking points into the American media and giving them this air of legitimacy. It is sick. And it's disgusting. It hurt the intelligence community, it hurt the American people, and it hurt the first Trump administration. We've got to have consequences for it, or we're just going to see the same play repeated again and after again.
Wow. I love that guy. But look, we're a year and a half in. He says there are going to be indictments. I feel like the whole apparatus, the whole swamp is working against those who want accountability. And I'm just not confident we're going to get it. What do you think, Joel?
I'm with you on that. I'm not confident. Trump started not with an attorney general that was going to kick butt. He started with Pam Bondi, who was the attorney general in Florida that kind of kicked off Black Lives Matter during the Zimmerman case. She was not a tough character. Todd Blanche is now, looks like, going to be the next AG. A lot of questions about him being a former Democrat and New York City attorney. We're a year and a half in. I pretty much understood that Tulsi Gabbard had a lot of resistance when she was DNI, Director of National Intelligence, from the other agencies and getting this stuff out there. So I'm with you. I don't think too much is going to happen. Unfortunately, Trump did campaign on draining the swamp the second time. He did that and got elected on that, but he really hasn't gotten it done so far. He did appoint Bill Pulte, who everyone's afraid of, back to the original conversation about Letitia James. He did put Bill Pulte in there at the Director of National Intelligence. So maybe some things will happen. Let's stay tuned. Let's not give up. Let's see what Pulte can accomplish.
All right. Sounds good. And, President Trump, I believe he did his part. He survived, thrived, and got reelected and elected again. And, I feel like other people have to step up to this moment. Joel Gilbert, you are amazing and we are grateful. Thank you, sir. And we'll be right back. You bet. Take care now. 800-848-9222 for everybody else. 800-848-9222. I shall return.
Greg Kelly, entertaining and informative
on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
I stopped drinking so much coffee. I have 2 pretty big cups in the morning, but I was drinking all morning long and until the afternoon. Almost like people used to smoke. It's something to do. And it was something for me to do and not eat. And it was messing with my energy levels. I just feel so much better. I can't talk about a life hack. A life hack. I love it. Hey, Jack in Southampton, the Hamptons region. How are you?
Great. Now the U.S. Open is finally over, we can get around a little bit. But I love listening to you in the afternoon. Thank you very much. Any sort of discussion with Obama and the connection with Valerie Jarrett with the sweetheart deal that he provided for Iran? I never really had heard any discussion of that historically, with her influence with the Muslim Brotherhood and CARE. I mean, that does maybe shed a bit of light on that way that he treated the whole Iran situation back then, no?
It's interesting. I, quite frankly, did not know. I mean, it's ancient. It feels sometimes like ancient history. Valerie Jarrett is Persian, is Iranian. I didn't know that. There are some people out there, and I'm a big Jared Kushner fan, but that he is like kind of working for Israel, they say. And I think he's working for America. He loves America, but he is very close to Bibi. When he was in high school, actually, when he was in junior high school, Bibi was a friend of the family, and Bibi was kind of a superstar back then, but he wasn't in government all the time. He'd leave, and he stayed in Jarrett's bedroom on multiple nights. It's in his book. Jarrett slept in the basement. They had a couch down there, but Bibi got Jarrett's room. So, there are personal relationships. I do not know. I don't know that about Valerie Jarrett. She was very much... She's like a glorified secretary. You know what I mean? She's not a strategist or anything like that. She's got a clipboard and she's in love with the Obamas. I don't think she was making international diplomacy happen, but you never know. I'll think about that one. Look into it. Thank you, sir. John is standing by in New Jersey. Hello, John.
How you doing?
Good.
I just don't get this. Why is everyone? You hear me?
Yeah.
Why is everyone blaming Trump for this deal? What in the world was he supposed to do? Is there any plan, anything, or he just got convinced to do this from the Israelis? Like, what was he supposed to do?
What do you mean, what was he supposed to do?
Is there anything more he could have done? Like, everyone's blaming him, saying he should have stayed there and do what?
I don't know. Look, there's a lot of noise. There's always a lot of noise. Anything Trump does is controversial, right? Iranians could have waved the white flag and said President Trump was right from day one. Thank you, President Trump, and he still wouldn't get credit. So it's so much of it is noise. I don't buy that about Israel convincing or talking President Trump into doing this. I don't. I think that's where that's coming from. I don't buy that stuff either. I would say, what would those who want us to bomb? What would we bomb? We've eliminated the nuclear. What do you guys want us to do? If you don't want to settle now, what do you want to do? Keep doing this? We've a mission accomplished. Let's wrap it up and take the win.
Thanks for listening to The Greg Kelly Show. You can hear The Greg Kelly Show weekdays at 12:15 on 77 WABC. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode so you never have to wonder.
What the heck is going on here?